You know, starting a business sounds interesting, difficult. We've all come across people who seem to be just underwater.
Yes.
What about buying a business and going through a business agent, for example,
Yes.
to pick a business that one might? How would you go about that? What would you be looking for?
Yeah, so that's actually a bit of a tricky process because, like, for example, you could buy a franchise or you could buy an existing business
Yeah.
rather than setting up your own.
Mm.
I think where it becomes tricky is unless you understand the business very well, it's hard to know what are some of the traps, like those things you've thought about, the threats. You know, is the business being sold because another competitor's opened down the road or
Right.
on the internet,
Yeah.
and now that business is no longer viable? How do you assess that?
Mm.
So it's really important to understand the industry, the likely customers, the turnover, the revenue, the costs, and all those things. And they'll usually be provided, but the knowledge of the industry is something that's not usually provided. So it's not generally a good idea to buy a business in an industry you're not very familiar with.
Okay.
And if just take a classic example, we often see coffee shops turning over every 12 months. So there's a new owner.
Yeah.
That's because the people who started that business or bought that business didn't fully understand perhaps the time requirement. So I'm not going to have a weekend anymore, for example. And so it's really important to understand all of that.
Yes. Depending on what kind of business, what kind of industry you're heading into.
Exactly.
And so on. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that video. Please check out my website, dominicmclaughlin.com, and check out my free course on businessleaderslab.com.